Mm-hmm. 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 Surprise, traders!
Let's
How
go.
are we doing today?
I wake up to a
hope you
little
have
bit
a
of drool on my
fantastic
pillow, feel like
freaking
it's gonna be a
Thursday
bad day.
afternoon as we're going to jump into the Neo stock earnings. Now, you had earnings today. Some very positive stuff coming from that, right? Deliveries up almost 100% year over year. Revenue surprising, up 112% year over year, as well as margin coming in at 19% for Neo. So very, very good signs for the stock. However, the stock is set up in a very, at least on the daily time frame, kind of poopy way, right? You look at this shoulder, right head shoulder that we had talked about the possibility of forming here, and you've come all the way back down to 540. You found a bounce off of it and you closed right where we said would be important to hold at 560. So as long as you hold this 200-day EMA, traders, at 556, you should be okay and you should continue to rally here. However, what I'm watching for is this very clear shoulder, head, right shoulder. And if you break below what is this horizontal trend that has multiple touches of resistance, support, now new support, right? If you break below that, traders, it's very, very likely that you see these two gap fills, the absolute bottom one currently sitting at 459 and then the other one sitting at 498. Why is this kind of good and bad, right? The good thing is the fundamentals of the company have never been stronger, so that is bullish. However, on the charts, right, the chart's not looking so hot. It's not looking so hot, at least on the short-term time frame. Long-term, we know our thesis, right? Our long-term thesis stays intact, that this is a very beautiful shoulder, head, right shoulder. And however long that takes to play out, we'll have to see. But in the meantime, right, what that will allow you to do, and this isn't financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor, is that may allow you to pick up shares of a company that is growing its bottom line and growing its top line sales for the first time in a long time at cheaper prices. And that's a good thing, right? And honestly, not financial advice. That is a very, very good opportunity when you look at the macro of this chart being as good as it is, right? Just going to the daily. Shoulder, head, right shoulder. Now, you've seen this drawdown test you in a couple different ways. We mentioned that this trend line needs to hold. You did not hold this trend line the last 3 days. You fell below it, and then you've wicked off of your previous resistance, acting as new support on this overall trend that you stayed in for about 6 months, right? So the good news is you're still above that trend, you're still above 560, and you're still above the 200-day EMA. Those are all bullish things for a possible trajectory bounce here. The bad news is you're below this trend line, and you've seemingly rejected it here during earnings, which was not good. Right, you came all the way up to 595, saw a rejection candle, and then you wicked off of the 200. But what I'm watching here is, can you find the strength to really propel yourself, not only through this previous support acting as new resistance, but also this newfound resistance that smacked you down 1, 2, 3 times already, potentially a 4th time here in the short couple of days. Just looking at latest updates from TradingView, they mention Neo stock 12-month price target raised to 721 implies 29% upside. So when you talk about the long-term thesis of this stock, you have people raising their price targets, becoming much more bullish, right? Institutions raising their price targets, and the setup on the macro is there. But on the short-term time frame, traders, this is where I would say do your own due diligence. I would urge you to precaution yourself and really just watch how you react in the next coming weeks, because the next couple of days, traders, the next, let's say, week or two is going to really tell you the next month and a half to 2 months of price action on this stock. It really will, because if you fail to hold this horizontal trend, well, theoretically, right, that low right there, it's likely that you play this out around 425 to potentially this bottom here at 459 would be a awesome place to look to potentially increase shares and improve your average, right? So all in all, you need to hold these levels. Otherwise, you're looking at a little bit lower. Let's see how much lower that would be. You got about a 17.92% drop into that gap fill, and then you're good, right? Then you would have no gaps on the daily time frame to then rock and roll higher. And we're talking about very high price targets on this stock. If you play out this schematic here, it's upwards of $20. Bam. So if you're telling me that I could get $4 Neo and then ride that to $20 to $22 at some point in the foreseeable future, I would love to take that bet, because that is what you call high upside and low downside. High reward, low risk is how you win in the markets. On the weekly time frame, you did reject the weekly RSI band, which is not a good look. You are now testing your 50 line on the RSI. So it's going to be important, right? You retested it here. You saw a massive bounce. This is going to be really what is going to determine whether or not you find a bounce here. Because if you do not, traders, and you fall beneath it, it's likely you play out that scenario. But what is really weighing it all, right? This is very important, not just for AMC GameStop, but also for NEO too. When you look at IWM, because this is the basket index that either bids these stocks up or applies selling pressure when it's going down. You saw a nice retest of the 50-day EMA on this, and then you saw two candles in a row, 2.5% and 1% on those candles. Now, this is not a I told you so, but really beautiful price action coming up to fill the gap that we talked about at 281.96. Now, that has been a couple different calls that we've made in the last couple of days that have come to fruition, and now we are waiting to see the rest of the call, because if you guys do recall, if you guys remember, we mentioned that you might bounce off of the 50, come back up to fill this gap, and then find a rejection. If you find that rejection, traders, that is literally the same exact setup as NEO stock, and that would be a shoulder, head, right shoulder to then fill all of your gaps and retest the 200-day EMA. Although as bloody as it may be, traders, that is the most healthy price action that you could see on this thing, retesting this falling broadening wedge and the 200-day EMA before finding a all-time high once again. And it could even go lower, right? You have multiple different support and resistance here. You have a support along the previous resistance. You also have support here on this three rising valleys. This was a low, a higher high, a higher low, higher high, and then potentially would not be the end of the world to see a higher low here and really just send this thing to about 312 to 320. That is our macro thesis, as we are long-term bullish on a lot of these small cap assets, because you have not yet seen that complete rotation from blue chip stocks into small cap assets, but you're starting to see signs that they will. And that's really where a lot of these small cap stocks, AMC, NEO, GameStop, really get their moment to shine. So I think that's all I got for today, guys. Make sure to slap the subscribe button, hit the like button on the way out. God bless each and every single one of you guys. And remember, the best is yet to come. Peace.